Just a heads up, this video is not meant to bash anyone. This is just a disclaimer for people who are buying electronics online. That's through like eBay and other types of websites. I've been buying Macs for over 2 years online, and I've been refurbishing them, fixing issues, and cleaning them up real well. And unfortunately, there is always a 1% chance I always receive a device and have an issue with a seller. Now, again, this is not to bash anybody. This is a video of my own experience, and hopefully it'll teach you guys and help you guys be a little more cautious when buying electronics online. So for about a week of scrolling, there was one MacBook that caught my eye. It's been on the market for a while, and not because it has a random different colored space gray trackpad than the silver body it has. It's because the price was a little bit high before, and they ended up dropping it, so I sent them an offer, and they did accept it. After doing that, I went ahead and just made sure the description, they selected the used condition, which per eBay states that it's fully operational and functions as intended. And then looking in their description, it is the 13-inch display, condition is used, ships with USPS priority mail, and it has cosmetic damage, which is pretty normal for a used computer. Now it does need a new battery for optimum performance. So just to ensure everything was correct, I went ahead and sent them a message. Hi, does it work fine besides the battery? To which they replied, yes, other than the battery, it works fine. Amazing, I just scored this MacBook for $216. Now, when I purchased it, it said it was coming from New York, but it ended up coming from Florida. So the MacBook has arrived inside of this USPS box, and it seems to be in pretty good condition. Doesn't seem like there's any horrible dents or anything on the box. And we're just gonna go ahead and pop this thing right open, and it does not come with a charger, so it should just be the computer by itself. And this is kind of a big box for this computer, but it should be wrapped perfectly fine. So here's the MacBook. There's no charger. So this is it. This is the $217 Apple MacBook Pro. All it needs is a new battery, so I have a brand new battery right here. This was from eBay, and it's probably from China, and whatever, but hey, it's a battery, and this one doesn't charge at all, so we can put this battery that'll last probably 3 months in here, so we can get 3 months of use out of this. So this looks pretty legit. This is the mid-2017 Apple MacBook Pro running macOS Ventura. Should be 256 gigabytes and 8 gigabytes of RAM with a 2.3 gigahertz Intel Core i5 processor. Now, I've replaced a couple batteries before, and I've done it a couple times on these A1708 models. So hopefully this one's no different. This should be exactly the same. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay. So here's the MacBook with the super dirty screen. And then when I was purchasing this, I noticed it had a space gray trackpad versus the silver color that this Mac is, which is really interesting. It looks like they probably had their trackpad replaced for some reason. But it was listed as used, and I asked if there was any issues, and they said no. So this should be good to go. There's no cracks along the bezel, which is pretty normal for these to have, except for whatever's going on there. So cosmetically, the keys are in good condition. Around the USB-C ports is where you usually see wear. There's not a lot of wear over there. You can see a little bit on this port and on this port, but it's not bad. I've seen worse. Now, the exception of the space gray trackpad on the silver MacBook, that's very interesting. It looks like their trackpad probably cracked or just stopped working and they got it replaced by somebody. Here's the rest of the Mac. And typically these models have cracks along the bezel and the bottom from use, and it doesn't look like this has that. And it definitely looks like there's some keyboard imprints on the screen. But nothing a little bit of deep cleaning can't fix. There was no actual photos of this unit turned on, so this is the first time I'm going to see this thing turned on. All right, let's go ahead and turn this thing on. Hopefully it should have battery in it. There we are. So they didn't log out. And the battery's at 18%. I don't know how long that's going to last. But first impressions are definitely not good. I don't know what is going on here. So it wasn't said that the bottom of the display stopped working. And I'm analyzing this, and it's like going away, but it's not. And if I take the mouse, I just look at that. It's like you can see it kind of like staying with the pixels there. It's like making a trail. So one thing you should always do with a Mac when you're selling it is please reset your device. Because here, I can't do anything without their password to get into this device and factory reset this thing. which obviously they did not do. So now I'm stuck with a password device, which I thought they were going to reset it and they didn't. So this Mac's SSD is APFS encrypted, so I cannot reset this device, nor do I really want to because there's this giant line in it, and I honestly don't want this laptop. So before we do anything, let's go ahead and see if we can log in with the guest user, and hopefully that'll bring up something. Now, depending on how you have the guest user set up, sometimes they can access a home screen, and sometimes they can only access Safari. Unfortunately, it looks like we can only do Safari. And we still have this horrible line. Like, if I can take this thing and just completely hide it under this line, this big old bezel the size of my thumb, I am able to hide that right under there. And so there's nothing I can do here. I can only browse the web, and that's it. So hopefully they'll be cool about it. Let's go ahead and send them a message. I got this from eBay, and let's see what they say. So after proceeding to message the user, they went ahead and told me that the screen issue was due to the battery not working. And this is definitely the first time I've heard that. So I went ahead and I went into my little office and I got out the brand new battery and I tested the computer without the battery inside of it and with the new battery inside of it. And here were the results. So I was a little skeptical at how easy that battery came out, and I went ahead and took a look at the computer, and it looks like the battery was originally taken out and then just super glued back onto the chassis, and probably most likely due to the trackpad being changed out. So instead of actually using the adhesive on this battery, because in case this doesn't work, I don't want to get a brand new battery again, so I'm just going to go ahead and lay it in here. This is definitely not the safest measure to do, but I'm going to go ahead and just attach everything. This is the main screw that's going in right now. This is what connects the power to the Mac itself. So we're going to go ahead and set that in and then connect the information cable over to the logic board. And as long as we hold the battery in, it should be good to go and we would be able to boot this thing up with no issue at all. And opening it up, and it still has the line. So I went ahead and just put everything back in as to how they had it. As you can see, they had super glue, so I just put super glue back on there because I don't really have an adhesive to use at the moment. So I'm just going to go ahead and put everything back to how I originally found it because I want to try and see if I can return this device, mainly because I buy and resell Macs, and I cannot resell this at a price that would be profitable or even out properly. This Mac was way too expensive to be having the issues that it currently has, so we're going to go ahead and bring it back to its full normal form and then hopefully try and figure out a solution with the seller. So after getting in contact with the owner through eBay once again, I told them that putting in the new battery did not fix the issue, unfortunately, and they said that You Break It, I Fixed diagnosed their computer originally, and that was what was causing the issue with the display. And I went ahead and told them, and I was like, hey, seeing that how the mouse moves across the display and how it leaves a pixel trail on the Retina screen, it's definitely more like a GPU issue, if not something else, but the battery does not correspond properly to cause issues with the display itself. And now typically, if this would happen, I'd ask for like a partial refund to go towards a new screen. But unfortunately for me, the screens on these Retina devices are like $300+. So it's really not worth it to me, especially after I spent $216 on a device that is worth more like $100 itself. So I went ahead and asked to do a return, and they told me to get in contact with eBay, almost like if they didn't want to deal with it themselves. But ultimately, I just pulled up the eBay return thing, sent them a message through eBay, and then they ended up accepting my return. So hopefully the return goes through smooth, and hopefully I get a full refund and not a partial refund. So I'll go ahead and update you guys when they get the package. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and add some extra packing material just to ensure this gets there safely. So I'm gonna roll up some of this foam, just stick it all the way in the back. And this is a pretty large box for this small of a computer, as you can see. It's not bad, but there's definitely some wiggle room in there if you don't have the right packing supplies. Go ahead and wrap this up. And then we'll get some more of this. These are all from previous computer purchases. And we'll just wrap it up like this. And we can just slide this whole thing right in here. And we'll wrap this part up. And then we can just place it in here. There we go.
1 week later.
It's been about a week now, and things did not go as expected. Things definitely went a little more south than I thought they would. I didn't even think anything was going to happen, to be honest. I thought I was going to be able to return this and everything would be fine. And things went really, really wrong. So while I was skiing up in the mountains with my family, I received an email from eBay stating that the seller opened a case. The seller stated that buyer returned computer unwrapped with no disk with incorrect battery hanging out of computer, causing irreparable damage to hardware after harassing seller. No reference display issue noted. So let's rewind for a second. They told me that I was harassing them. They were the ones who sent me a completely destroyed device that renders completely useless to me and what I do. And they didn't say that in the description. And when I reached out to them, they're saying that that's harassment. And then they said that the computer is unwrapped, like if there's no bubble wrap inside of it. So I went ahead and I asked them for photos of this because now I'm really, really mad, thinking I'm not going to get my refund of $217. So here's the box, and as you can see, it looks like there's only one piece of tape on there. And then here's the laptop. You can see some of my packing material in there, but all of the bubble wrap is completely removed. And as you can see, I packaged it to the brim with bubble wrap and packing foam. So I sent the computer out filled to the brim with packing foam. Now I start to think that this is some sort of scam or something weird is just happening because the package was shipped out and it got to them with no bubble wrap inside of it, which would only mean that the package had to have been opened during shipping, which wouldn't make sense because USPS can't do that unless there's probable cause. So I went ahead and I told this seller that I have physical video evidence of me packing this computer up. And they said to send the video evidence over. And then I asked them how they wanted it to be sent. So I asked for their email or a phone number where I could send this minute-long video of me packing it up. And then I ended up getting my refund. And then I never heard back from the seller. So I figured that they tried to take up another case with eBay. So I asked them what was going on just to, make sure everything's okay on their end. And I still haven't heard a reply, and it's been at least 2 days now. So since then, nothing has happened. If you're a seller, please specify what you're selling, and if you're a buyer, please know what you're buying. Unfortunately, I didn't know what I was buying. I thought I knew, but apparently I didn't know, and the seller, unfortunately, did not specify that correctly. So that's pretty much what happens, and a lot of times eBay is good about this and will help you resolve the case, which it was found in my favor. But pretty much the moral of the story here is just please be careful of what you're buying online, and make sure you ask all the questions that you need to ask.